Hey class, how's it going? So, what I want to spend this unit's tech tip talking about is procrastination and time management. It's getting to that point in the semester where it is imperative that you keep your nose to the grindstone, that you keep focused, that you take care of business, that you get all of your assignments and all of your classes completed. So I want to give you a few tips that I've used myself, a few tips that other students have talked to me about and other instructors have shared with me. It's just a handful. So not many, but maybe you'll find something useful here. The first tip up here is 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off. This one works really well for me personally. I tend to be a procrastinator myself. I always have been. And so I will get in the habit of scheduling 20 minutes of focused, uninterrupted work. No bathroom breaks, no getting water, no filling up your coffee cup. 20 minutes of pure work. And then you give yourself a 10-minute break. And for that 10-minute break, you can go to the bathroom, you can get a glass of water, you can get a cup of coffee, whatever you need to do. And you do that stuff quickly so that you can use the remainder of your 10 minutes for surfing the web, catching up on news, jumping on social media platform of choice. And you literally set a timer. And when that timer goes off, 20 minutes back on. You'll find that if you can use 40 minutes of an hour rather than partially working here, partially working there, partially working here, it will be a lot more effective than not doing anything at all. And you can modify this. You can do 25 and 5. You can do 15 and 15 if you need to at first. This is, for me personally, this is one of the most useful techniques that I've employed to avoid procrastination. The next one, this is one that someone shared with me recently, and Hannah was actually talking about the other day, and it's scheduling procrastination. So let's say that you love to play video games or you love to binge watch a show. That's okay. Just schedule it. Say, all right, I'm going to work really hard so that on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, I can play video games and I can binge. Or on you choose your night. Those can also work really well. Another thing with scheduling procrastination is I found that at this stage of my life, I work much better very early in the morning than I do late at night. It used to be that I could work very successfully late at night. These days, I work very well in the morning. So I will often, part of it I think is having a family, but I will often get up at 4:30 in the morning. And if I can work from 4:30 to 7, I can bust out a lot of work. Requires going to bed a little bit earlier than I prefer to because I tend to gravitate towards being a night owl personally, but I find that I can use those slots to work. So schedule your procrastination, but also schedule your most productive time slots. And this is going to depend on your family life, your roommates, your job. If you have kids, any of your responsibilities, you may need to find a special time that you work that maybe isn't your normal time to actually get work done, but it might work out pretty well for you. Next one, this is a long-standing one, but make a to-do list. And I would also say, from my own experience, make a reasonable to-do list. I'm a type of person I'll often bite off a little bit more than I can chew. And so I will sit down and say, all right, Monday to-do list. And all of a sudden my to-do list is this long and I only get through this much of it. So make reasonable to-do lists that you can accomplish in a certain set amount of time. The next one is your study environment. I know that I personally and many people need, and the research has shown that by having a structured study environment, you will get more done. Now, that is not to say it needs to be perfect, and that is not to say it always needs to be the same. For example, some people that I've talked to, I had a student who was an engineering student, now off as an engineer, and he would study math in a certain part of the library because it worked really well for math. But when it came to maybe reading the textbook for a literature class, he would enjoy going to a coffee shop and sitting and listening to instrumental music. But he couldn't do the reading for the literature class in the library with the same focus that he could the math. So what I'm pointing out here is that you're find a study environment that's conducive to what you're working on. You're going to have different disciplines and different courses that require different types of studying. So think about that and be reflective on it and match your environment up to whatever you happen to be studying. And also, the other thing that I recommend with study environment, and again, a lot of research, especially with COVID and a lot of people working from home recently, is make sure that in your bedroom, in your apartment, in your house, that you create a little nook, a little desk, a little couch, however you like to study, whatever physical space that you want to establish, make a space for studying in your living space. And that will greatly, when you arrive at that place, you'll study. For me, when I get up early in the morning, I have a wood stove. I sit in front of the wood stove and I read. And that is my place where I go and sit and read. If I'm going to be doing anything that's a little bit more production oriented, typing or creating, obviously I'm right here. I like to do that on the desktop and not on my laptop. Lots of other things I do on my laptop. Email, I usually do on my laptop. So again, think about your space, think about your tools, and shape those to fit you. Next one, last one, music. Um, there's lots of different schools of thought on music. I personally like music, but it needs to be instrumental if I'm really going to engage up here. I can't have anything that has lyrics while I'm trying to read or do any heavy thinking. So music can be great, but think about it. Be honest with yourself. What works and what doesn't work? If you hold on to, whether it's, scheduling your procrastination, 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off, or something like that, to-do list, study environment, think about what works for you for different tasks that you have, and then make sure that you follow a regimen and stick to it. And I promise you, the stress associated with procrastination will quickly dwindle and you'll feel much better about many things and not just your coursework. All right. Don't procrastinate.